Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. This is our Tuesday night live show. Thanks for watching. We are the most fact-driven, unbiased true crime channel on the internet. So tonight is our Tuesday night live. Obviously, we have somewhat of a short week given the holiday weekend. The holiday, that's right, 4th of July, one of my favorite holidays. Why is it favorite holiday? Well, it's the birth of America. And yes, I know people will say America is terrible, worst place to be in the world, and I would respectfully disagree. Yes, America have made some mistakes, but I think we've made some very good strides, obviously working to do better, and still a pretty good place to be, at least in my humble opinion. Also, what else is going on in the world today? People in Tampa, looks like Hurricane Elsa, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, Elsa is headed your way. So hopefully it'll just turn into or stay a tropical storm. But I think there's talk that it'll be a full-blown hurricane shortly. So please be careful. Having had to evacuate for several hurricanes when I lived in South Carolina when I was in the military, I can understand packing up and moving into areas where the wind won't get you. Looks like it's supposed to cut across Florida and then work its way up the coast there in South Carolina. Hopefully it'll just head out to sea, since I still have some stuff there in South Carolina. Want it to be safe, as well as know many people down there still that want them to be safe as well. Now, I did notice something today as I was going through, as a lot of people who've tuned in before. Yes, I am a criminal defense attorney. Been doing this now in private practice for 21 years and been practicing 26. But my other true love, other than the law, is I like things that fly, airplane stuff. And I noticed today on one of the sites that I was scrolling through, I think it was the FAA site. Today is the National Air Traffic Controller Day. National Air Traffic Controller Day. So if you know an air traffic controller, or you just appreciate air traffic controllers because they, keep planes separated so they do not collide while in midair, like I do, I appreciate what air traffic controllers do. So if you know an air traffic controller, give them a big hug, give them a big sloppy kiss. I don't know any air traffic controllers personally, so I just want to say thank you for all that you do, keeping us all safe. All right. For those of you who have not joined us before, like I said, my name is Scott Reisch. I am a practicing criminal defense attorney. I've been doing this for 26 years now. And if there's been a case, I've probably pretty much handled it, seen it. That's why we started this channel, was because I became very frustrated by watching the evening news and and the reporters stating what took place and it being completely wrong and not understanding what was really taking place at all. So that's why we started this channel, and it's grown. I still can't believe it. Every day I will, I get up and I check my phone and I see how we did, and I think we're almost at 183,000 subscribers. Getting really close. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, hit that little bell, share it with a friend. Appreciate that. We like new subscribers. We want to keep you happy. We want to, keep you informed and hopefully entertained. And who knows, maybe you'll learn something as well. And so then I wake up and I see not only almost at 183,000, which would be great, but I'd really, it's like all things in life, you can reach that goal. What's the next one? 183 would be great. 185 would be great. Really, 1 million would be really great. We'd really like to have 1 million. So tell 800,000 of your closest friends to subscribe. We'd appreciate that. And if we get 1 million subscribers, we'll be on literally from 8 to 5. How's that? Maybe not just me. We'll bring in other things as well, but we'll bring that in. But the other thing I realized the other day, and I had no idea, and I know there's some big YouTubers that get millions and millions of views within a day or two, but if you're just a regular everyday YouTuber, just put something up and see how many views you get. It's tough. I have a lot of respect for all the people out there who put up YouTubes, but we surpassed not long ago 36 million views. 36 million views. I mean, how humbling is that 36 million people, maybe they've watched it a couple of times, but millions and millions of people would take time out of their busy day to listen to me, okay? It's humbling. Don't accept it. I just don't take it for granted at all. Every day we try to, do a good job and put up content and explain the law and the legal issues to everybody. Because, well, obviously we'd like to keep our 182,800 subscribers, but we'd like to get more of you as well. So, like I said, I want to thank each and every one of you. I've said this before. One of the rules that I live by: there are two types of people in the world: those that are humble and those that are about to be. And I actually believe that is very, very true. We've all been guilty of it, where we get a little too big for our britches. And we're not talking about how COVID has shrunk my suits. No, we're talking about where you get a little big, your ego gets a little too big. Remember, your mother always said, "Oh, you're a little too big for your britches there, young man." That's we've all been there. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I remember winning a big case and thinking, "Yeah, I'm the guy." Yeah. And then you get home and you're like, "Yeah, take the garbage out there, Mr. Amazing." Yeah. Okay. Got it. So good rules to live by. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So the question then becomes, what are we going to talk about? Well, our Tuesday night live show, as well as our Patreon show that we do immediately after this. And our Patreon show is a little different because, yes, we talk and we take questions and it's a smaller group, but we also have a call-in feature where you can call in and talk to me and your closest Patreon buddies. And, there's always something interesting when somebody calls. We've had people call. We've had as guests. We started talking to them, and then they came back on again as a guest because it was just so frankly interesting. I speak specifically of the mitigation expert. We had a young man called once from Rexburg, Idaho. Huh? Anything going on out there? Yeah. Maybe, and I keep saying we need to get out there, but something seems like it always comes up in the, in life. Now, I just noticed something here. Shadow just put up a super chat. Now, we don't ask for super chats, but we appreciate super chats. And frankly, if you want your comment to be seen or read, then the chances increase because it's big and bold here on my screen. And Shadow says, really enjoy your channel. Great info, insights, legal system without some of the nonsense mainstream media used to sell their news. Well, thank you, Shadow. Appreciate that. I mean, seriously, one thing I've realized since starting this channel is that no matter what you say, no one will be happy. I get accused of, I was just responding to somebody's like, what I really don't like about this channel is they never talk about Republicans getting in trouble. I'm like, really? Where have you been? We've talked about lots of Republicans getting in trouble. Both parties should probably be charged as a criminal enterprise. Like, I'm not sure where you think. Then I have people say, oh, you don't talk about when, you only talk about it when, Republicans get in trouble. How come you never talk about when the Democrats get in trouble? Well, we're not just talking about that in general, but it's like no matter what you say or do, no one will be happy. You mispronounce the name. I've lived in Colorado all my life. We were talking about the Suzanne Morphew case. And I've always known it to be pronounced Chaffee County. I've been there a long time ago, did a case there. And then people are like, no, I live here. It's Chaffee. Okay. I've lived here all my life. I don't know. Chances are if it's a weird pronunciation, more than likely I'm going to get it wrong. So I apologize in advance to all of those. So like I said, what we'll do is, we have lots to talk about. We just put up our video today. Obviously, there's Mark Means. I'm going to have to send Mark Means either a mug or at least a Christmas card this year. This is the guy that the gift just keeps on giving. The motion that he filed for the change of venue, I'm like, really? Like, really? When you file a motion, okay, most judges, at least where I've practiced from, if you did a generic motion saying, say motion to suppress, comes now, the defendant by and through counsel and hereby alleges that the stop, contact, search, and subsequent interview were all in violation of the Fourth Amendment, throw it out. The judge wouldn't, where I'm from, the judge would not give you a hearing. At minimum, you're going to get a little admonishment saying, why are you submitting such crappy motions? So Mark Means submitted a motion today basically saying change in place of trial. It's called change of venue everywhere I've seen it, but maybe they call it something there. Where he wants the trial moved because he can't get a fair trial in the county in which they currently are set in. And he just says it's in violation of the law. No supporting evidence whatsoever. Just like if I file a motion to suppress, I would have to give some facts. On this date, the client was pulled over. There was no reasonable suspicion. The police officer doesn't cite any reason as to why somebody was pulled over. He was arrested without probable cause. You'd have to give the facts that give rise to your claim. You just don't get to say it. And I think that's what frustrates me so much. Like I said, when you watch the news, whether it's politics or even some of these pleadings, it's like you can't just say something without backing it up. You have to have some proof. And I think that world is floating over into the legal community. But I think attorneys have a bigger and greater responsibility to do it better. You know what I mean? If you're going to say you can't get a fair trial, then tell the court why. Put an attachment on there. Which brings me to another little beef that I have. In today's world, where you can get and receive so much information literally at your fingertips. And before, if you wanted to go see a court file, you had to go down to the courthouse and you'd fill out your little slip and you'd put the case name and the case caption, the case number on there, and you'd say, what are you going to do? And you're going to say, I'm going to review it. And maybe I'm going to copy a couple pages out of it. And I was going to pay my 25 cents to that copier over there in the corner. That was undoubtedly not going to work. Either wasn't going to accept the change. It was going to run out of paper. Of course, you had to get the clerk who's on break, who's going to be. So that little task of copying just a little thing would turn into an hour-long adventure. And you would think in today's world, with everything that we have at our fingertips, that we should be able to access these court files immediately. Now, here in Colorado, we have the ISA system, the PACER system, and the federal system, and you can pay to get into it. But if I was in the old courthouse, I could say, I would like to see the court file. Why should I have to pay now to be able to see the court filing? Why is it not public record? It's public record. We should all be able to go see it, look at it whenever we want, and in today's world, just so be it. But now everything goes through these portals where, the court's going to decide for us what we get to see. Now, I get it. There's certain things that have some privacy interest in it. But if we're talking general pleadings, then, we should be able to see that all the time. It's just, it is, it's just frustrating to me. I'm just looking at some of these comments here. You're going to be talking to Mark's lawyer pretty soon, I would think. Okay. and tell me one thing that I could say where the truth is not an absolute defense. Exactly. Let's see here. Don Marie, is the criminal defense one considered the Patreon option? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Don Marie or Blonde PT. Let's see here. We keep going on here. We should all sign that Christmas card, honestly. I love it. Send Mark means one of those Nancy Grace handcuff necklaces. Let's see. WY native, Wyoming native. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Get this Mark Means guy disbarred. I don't know if he needs to be disbarred, but and here's it. We've talked about this. Before we do that, let's Just Jimmy super chat here. I submit that due to the internet, mobile patrol apps, etc., that no one can get a fair trial in their country region. That's interesting, Jimmy. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people do not read the news. It's absolutely astonishing. Like I said, I had a case a couple years ago. We brought in 600 jurors to find 12, and we found 12 that had never heard anything about the facts of our case. There's a lot of people that just don't read the news, don't care. But the problem is you almost have to wait and see. Now, the trial that I speak of, we filed our motion, and we had we attached all the newspaper clippings, we attached everything, surveys, etc. And the judge granted it and said, yeah, I agree. I've been in town, I live in this town, and I know you're not going to get a fair trial. But they kept it in their same judicial district, which was just, the next county over, because the county the judicial district had several counties in it. So by rule, they could move the trial into the same county versus asking the judge in the Supreme Court to reassign it to a different county somewhere different. So, but I guess my point is I think you can find people, but you have to really ferret them out. I mean, because, for the most part, I think most people have a general idea of what's going on, even if it is getting their 15-second news blurb from whatever source they're looking for. But there are lots of people that, crime and stuff like that going on in the world. A lot of people just don't care. Not going to do it. But I understand in today's world, we talked about the case the other day where a juror was held in contempt by a judge. Why? Because the juror was doing some research on the case or the parties involved. And I get it, I mean, the judges tell you, hey, I know the first thing you want to do is go Google everyone involved in this case. And you're told you can't do it. Like, well, maybe no one will know. I'll just look. No one will know. They'll never know. Well, it comes out sometimes. You'd be surprised. So you just never know. Michelle Gerber Anderson, $14.99 super chat. Wow, that's a big, bright one. We'll definitely read that. We almost have enough meanisms to tell around the campfire and have a great laugh. That's true. It just keeps coming. And, nothing personal against Mr. Means. I mean, I don't. If Mr. Pryor, who's Chad Daybell's attorney, was doing the exact same thing, I would be saying, what are we doing? And I've tried to call it pretty straight. Mr. Pryor, he did a pretty good job at the preliminary hearing. Obviously, the case isn't going to go away, and he knows that. But he did what he could with what he had to work with at the time. So that's not a criticism of him. And if you noticed, Pryor has kept a pretty low profile. He kind of got on the bandwagon when they had the whole hearing about the prosecutorial misconduct, which was dismissed, but they had a hearing on it. You know what I mean? They had another hearing on it to basically what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? what's the word I'm looking for? He is, he's just kept a low profile. He's trying his case in the courtroom. But when they had the hearing about the whole issue regarding prosecutorial misconduct, he kind of got in the bandwagon and was like, yeah, me too, yeah. But remember, it was Mark Means that started it. He's the one that got on, that really pushed it. And it turned out it went nowhere. And I remember listening to those tapes thinking, tell me what you think is prosecutorial misconduct here. I just don't get it. V-Fly, been rocking with this channel since day one. Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I pronounced it right. V-Fly, Vi-Fly, appreciate it. I mean, so I think we're being pretty fair to Mr. Means. I mean, he had this hearing set for discovery issues, remember? And then he has a show cause stuff, and nothing ever comes from it. It was the quickest hearing ever set in this case. I mean, we have hearings to set hearings at a future date. I get that there's certain cases to do that, but when you have all the parties there, you tell everybody, let's get your calendar, let's get this thing scheduled now while I have everybody there. And the reality of it is, when you have all those people there, the chances of you getting a date that actually works, or that are going to, adjust their schedule to make it work, it's amazing how that happens. Federal court, they used to do these big indictments. There would be 19, 20 co-defendants. And the judge would just say, I'm going to set a date. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my watch on the table. Going to set a date. And somebody's going to say, well, that's a bad date. And the judge is going to say, no matter what date I throw out, it's not going to be a good date. So if it works for all but one or two, then we're going to, keep that date. So I just don't get why there's such a big deal for hearings in Idaho. It's not like they have bigger cases going on, but we'll see. Shadow, I haven't been chosen for jury duty due to past employment, ME. Could the fact we listen to you as being very informed? Listen, I have only been called for jury duty once. I would love to be called for jury duty. I think I would make a very good juror because I hold the government to their burden of proof. And if they met that burden of proof, I would find the defendant guilty. If they failed to meet that burden, I would find the defendant not guilty. I think I would be a fair and impartial juror. And I think I've seen enough that I can call BS on either side, kind of when it, comes to credibility. We'll see. I mean, and somebody said, Scott, you seem a little grumpy today. Yeah, I am a little grumpy today. Why, Scott, were you grumpy? You know why? Because I had to go deal with civil matters today, not a criminal matter, a civil matter. And, we've talked about, civil matter, you file your complaint, you give disclosures, you do interrogatories, you do depositions, etc. And in a civil case, I'm a firm believer in this. It's not a question of the documents they're turning over as being truthful. You spend half your time on a civil case figuring out what they're hiding. And when people literally are just lying to your face and they think that it's going to be okay, like that's it. Okay. You just keep lying. I appreciate you doing that all day long. You just keep that up. And I hope you do that in front of a jury and a judge too, because you're going to look like the biggest fool. But, at a deposition, people don't seem to, I think, appreciate the seriousness of being sworn and, providing truthful answers. So it's like training a small animal, a little dog. And I know some people are going to say, but, when the dog does something, you say no, right? And I remember I had a case once where I had a witness that he fought me on a couple of questions, and it was a big case, and I had all my answers, listed out. I knew exactly what page to impeach him with, to turn to it, refresh his recollection. And like I said, it was like training him, whacking him on the nose. And by the end of the cross-examination, he was giving me yes answers to questions that maybe weren't even completely accurate, but that's what he thought. I knew the answer to some, because he knew he was going to get whacked and he wasn't going to take that beating anymore. Now, obviously, it was figuratively whacked, not actually whacking somebody, but that's what you have to do. And that's the thing that's just so frustrating in the civil world, is people just think that they can lie because, well, they never go to court. Start going to court, start being put on a witness stand, things get a little more real for sure. So somebody said, you seem a little grumpy today, Scott. Well, yeah, it makes me grumpy. Estelle Patea, you should send Means an autograph frame picture of yourself. Nope, not going to do that. Don't have any. Although I still think you would like a Crime Talk mug. We have a mug and a Sharpie. I should sign one now and send it to him. Thanks for all your work. Mama Pink, love that Scott wears a watch. Who doesn't wear a watch? Who doesn't wear a watch? I feel naked without a watch. I know you have your cell phone, but a watch. Everyone has to have a watch. Aloha, Aaron from gorgeous Kauai. I love Hawaii. Great state. Let's see. Mom of 6. I didn't not use all caps. So sorry. I was just trying to get my question seen. I've never had one answered. All right, let me go back and see if I can find Mom of 6 question. Don't want to get you in trouble, but be nice to the. Let me see if I can find Mom of 6 questions. All right, let's see here. Can you guys help me out here? See what we have Julie and Frank here this evening, and they're trying to look and see Mom of 6 questions.
Maybe it didn't show because it was blocked.
Oh, maybe it was blocked. Mom of 6, can you ask your question again? And we'll be on the lookout for it.
Do you think we will ever get to see the arrest affidavit for Barry Morphew?
Question, do you think we'll ever get to see the question for Barry Morphew? The affidavit for arrest warrant? Yes. I say yes. I do believe that we will. Now, it's going to be heavily redacted according to the judge, and nothing's really set on the matter as of right now. However, I think it was the Denver Post filed a motion with the court and I think laid out some appropriate facts and as well as the statement of the law saying, Judge, it's not your job to basically look out for the defense, and the prosecution says they have no problem releasing the affidavit. So, what's the big issue here? I think we're going to get to see it. I think we're going to see it sooner rather than later. The court did say, I think they weren't going to do anything till, when was it? Like September or something, I think we go back. For some reason, September 5th is coming to mind, but that may be wrong because that's right around, I think, like Memorial Day or something. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I hope we get to see it sooner rather than later. Apparently, it's the longest affidavit the court has ever seen, which means, and I've read affidavits similar to that where the police officers put everything in it. But when you have a case that doesn't have a body, you have to kind of put a lot of information into it because there will be an attack based upon the arrest affidavit. And the attack would be that, well, you didn't list this fact or this fact. So I'm sure the detective, the sheriff there, just said, fine, we'll just put everything in. And, maybe they knew it was going to go to the public. But the judge's order I thought was very odd because he was really trying to protect the young Morphew girls. One's in college, one's in high school. And, I hate to say it, but The rationale that, well, it's a small community, people may talk. They're already talking. I get it from a defense perspective. You're like, no. We want to interview these witnesses before they have any chance to be influenced by any witness, by what comes out in this case or in the affidavit. But that doesn't, you're still going to have to go talk with those witnesses. And if their story changes, well, why did your story change? Oh, it's because it came out. When people talk to the police, their name goes on a police report. They're going to be put in a criminal case. So I don't really understand the court's rationale. I don't think there's any basis, to protect the daughters from harm, not like physical harm, but emotional harm. That's not one of the factors that the judge should have considered. And I think the court was wrong in that regard. The problem is nobody's going to be able to get any relief until the court rules on the motion. The court's not going to rule on the motion for another couple of months, which I just think is unfair. Charges have been filed. It's a public case, case of interest. Let the truth be known. Why does everybody have a problem with the facts? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Let's take a look at some more of the questions. I love jury duty because I know that there's BS on both sides, but it's only the prosi that has to prove anything, and I love it when they don't. I do. An observation, okay? When there's a not guilty verdict coming out, you can just kind of feel it. You just kind of you try not to get excited, but and usually there's like laughing and stuff going on in the back. And when they come out, they're kind of smiling. They may not look at the prosecutor. You can't tell. You just never know. I think you can tell when it's going to be a guilty verdict because it's just very solemn. People know it's a solemn moment, particularly if your clients can be found guilty of something. But people are much more happier when there's a not guilty verdict because they think, obviously they're doing justice. The system is working. They didn't prove their case, and that's the way it's supposed to work. And I think deep down inside, everybody kind of like sticking it to the man just every now and then. And when you get to go to jury duty and the prosecution fails, it's for all those potholes, the parking tickets that you get, stuff like that. I think people kind of like it. It kind of gives them a good feeling. It really does. Take a look at some more questions here. Always appreciate the nice words. I appreciate everybody for doing that. Thank you all for watching. Mom, I've always wanted to be in jury. I've never made it to the courtroom. Neither have I. I think it'd be a great, let's see, Adora Inanna, civil deposition is hell. It's exhausting because, people play games. They lie to you and they lie to your face. I don't get it. When you know that they're lying, but they act like they're not. Do you really believe that? But that's my answer and my final answer. I'm sticking to it. Anyway, Stephanie, if a client tells you up front they are guilty and plead not guilty, do you still defend them? Stephanie, that would be the obligation of a criminal defense attorney. If the client comes to you and says, hey, you know what, Scott, man, I did it. And you're like, okay, fine. Let's see if we can get an offer. And the offer comes back and it is an offer of what is sometimes referred to as GORT. Guilty or trial, right? G and then O-R, trial. Guilty or trial. There were DAs that used to have a stamp on that. It was like plead guilty or trial. Like, okay, you want to go to trial? Let's go to trial. And, normally when the offer is something as crappy as plead guilty to the most serious charge, probably go to prison, you set it for trial. And you can even go to trial. Even if you know that your client did everything that he is accused of, your job ethically as a criminal defense attorney is to zealously represent your client. And you can still put the government's evidence to test, right? See if they can meet their burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You can cross-examine their witnesses on inconsistencies, things that just don't make sense. You can do anything you can to argue within the law and ethics of the facts or the lack of, based upon the evidence that's been presented or the lack thereof, and argue reasonable doubt. Now, if your client says, hey, Scott, I did it. I did everything. But, things are going pretty well here, trial, but I don't know. I want to get up on the witness stand and tell them what happened. Well, no, you can't do that because you told me you did it. If the client wants to do that, it's his right it is his or her right to take the stand. However, if they lie to the court and say that they didn't do it, knowing you do, you have to take a break. You have to then ask the client to correct his answer, put him back on the stand. Is there anything about your testimony that you would like to change? No. At that point, you ask to approach and you say, Judge, I need to withdraw. Okay? Why do you need to withdraw? You're still in trial, Mr. Reich. Well, Judge, everybody knows. Everybody knows. You cannot put on perjured testimony. You cannot suborn perjury. So you have to withdraw. And if he won't correct his answer to the truth, then you need to withdraw. You can always ethically hold the government to the burden of proof, saying, prove the case, right? And I've had cases where you're like, client said he did it. Not guilty. That's all client has to say. Ladies and gentlemen, my client's not guilty. Now they have to prove their case to each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. All it takes is a mere allegation to get through those doors. And when you see the evidence confronted here in court, they will fail to meet their burden of proof. Boom, sit down. Completely 100% ethical. And I've had cases where the client's done it. Prosecutor can't get a piece of evidence in. Judge shuts down some of their evidence for maybe foundational reasons. That's the test that the founding fathers and our judicial system set up is you may be absolutely guilty, but the government still has to prove it. Nothing says you have a moral obligation to plead guilty. We've talked about this before. In the criminal justice system, morally what you do, confess, I'm sorry I did it. I'll never do it again. Okay, may cleanse your soul, may make you feel like, your parents raised you the right way, but you have just screwed yourself in the legal sense. Okay, we've talked about this before. You have morality, and then you have the law, legality, and they're not the same. And frankly, you don't get any more brownie points by pleading guilty. Usually what the prosecutor says, man, this is a slam dunk case. I'm going to make a crappy offer on this case. You don't usually get a better offer by confessing to the police. You just made everybody's job a whole lot easier. And that is the job of the prosecutor and that of the filing detective. You make it more difficult for the defense attorney when you do that. Deborah Scott, Mr. Grumpy Pants. That's right. I am late. I know this live is about the two dumbbells of the decade, but we'll bury more for you rest of the day. Carol, yeah. We just mentioned that, but yes, Carol, I think eventually it's frustrating. It should be. Shadow, how about a pic of Winnie? Well, I think we could send some pics. You have to follow Miss Winnie the Bulldog on Instagram and TikTok. And then I think you get at least a daily picture of Miss Winnie. And oh, how has she grown? Oh my goodness, a little baby, little puppy bulldog that could just sit right there in your hand, literally in the palm of your hand. Now, that's right, she's a big girl. Big girl. I think she weighed in, Miss Winnie the Bulldog, weighing in at 35 pounds. And she's just one big chunk of muscle for sure. And it's been real fun because even though the vet said, oh, she won't go into heat anytime soon. So we had her to get fixed. Surprise. That's right. She went through heat. That was a swell time, right? Because we just got all the carpets cleaned from when she was a little puppy, like kind of nice roll-up carpets kind of stuff. And we kept them rolled up, and we finally put them down. And then all of a sudden, she starts going into heat. Yeah, it was swell time. Little doggy diapers and just a big mess. But the lovely Miss Kristen took it like a champ. She did a great job. So yeah, did great. But yeah, follow Miss Winnie the Bulldog on the Instagram, Miss Winnie the Bulldog, as well as TikTok. And you can always get that. Like, look at this, the cool mug, the Winnie mug. I love this mug. I don't know if y'all see that. Look at, there's the little Miss Winnie mug, right? I mean, how cool is it when your dog gets a mug and T-shirts, and then this side it says Crime Talk, right? Kind of cool. I mean, if you want one, you can just go to Teespring. Great little coffee mugs. I don't know if we have any extras of those at all, but yeah. Let's see. Wearing my nice watches. Med gas guy. I don't have anywhere nice enough to wear anymore. I just like a watch. Let's wear some of the things here. Okay, Ernest. I'm really confused. You claim to be unbiased, but yet you really claim to be bashing Mark Means. No, you know what? There were a couple of occasions where I said I agree with Mark Means. I think he made the right call. Not many. So no, I mean, we call it the way it is. I just think he makes more mistakes than basically good decisions. Everything that I've seen up to this point. I don't know the man personally from Adam. I know, just looking at his filings, he just seems like everything is last minute. There's a huge typographical and grammatical errors. And, hey, I get it. We've all been there. You've read it. You've reread it. You've had somebody look at it and you send something out and there's a typo or, a misspelling of some type. We've all been there. But my biggest complaint of Mark Means, and I'll tell everybody, is that he just makes all these allegations and never backs him up. He's more bark than bite. Like, oh, I'm going to hold everybody in contempt because they haven't produced anything. Okay, set a hearing. Let's do it. It's your motion, your burden. Let's go forward. Take care of it. Nothing ever happens. Just like the stuff that we talked about today in today's video. But, I mean, what was the occasion? He did something where I agreed with him early on. I said, yeah, I mean, made the right choice. I think it was when he waived the preliminary hearing. I'm like, you've already got Pryor's questions to, all the witnesses. Then some of them were good. Why muddy it up? Why give him a chance to go fix it? There was, if he does a good job or he makes a good decision, I'll be the first one to applaud him on it. And, maybe he's just smarter and more crafty than I give him credit for. And, he's going to do it. But, hey, I mean, at this point, hey, his client's not been found guilty of anything just yet. So I guess he's doing just a fine job. Let's see here. Lunar Sparkles. We have more wildfires again near the border. Prayers for my brother and friends from California fire. So many creepy men, women out there on the roads. Be aware and alert at all times. Yes, like we talked about the video today. The guy taking a stroll around that New York residence about 1 o'clock in the morning. People are asleep. When we had... I think we still have them. I think if you still go to, not CrimeTalk search, that's for the background, but it was CrimeTalk offers. One of them was for a security system. I mean, and in today's world, why would you not have your own security system set up? I mean, they're relatively inexpensive. You can go into, Home Depot or Best Buy, order them online. You can get like 8 cameras for a couple $100. It's all web-based, very inexpensive. And yes, those systems aren't going to necessarily prevent crime from coming in, but maybe they'll deter somebody if they realize they're on video, right? But at least if something bad happens, they at least know where to start, and they've solved a lot of cases. And the thing I find very interesting is with Ring these days, if the police have a crime that took place, they can send out an alert to all the homes in the area saying, hey, we believe there was a burglary at this time. We would like to get the video from your Ring doorbell during this time period, give you a window. And all you have to do is click yes, and boom, it sends that information straight to the police. It's not like the police officer has to go door to door anymore and look for that. You still may want to go out there and check them out for, video camera systems. We just did a homicide case, 3 weeks ago? Not guilty, 3 counts of attempted murder. They got one little video camera that shows nothing. But then, I go out there with my investigator and we walk it, and there's like video camera here, video camera there, video camera there. Why didn't anybody bother to go do it? Well, because it was in a crummy part of town and just figured, hey, this is kind of stuff that just happens here, next. We don't have time to deal with it. Not guilty. That's right. Robin Putnam, another super chat there. Appreciate that. Thank you. Michael Scott would love to hear your views on bail reform. You got a second there, Michael? I'll tell you my views on bail reform. Well, let me tell you. Like all things in life, you have kind of life, the middle of the road. And then things go back and the pendulum swings back. The pendulum has swung so far on the bail reform. Now, I am talking to you, and I will tell you, all right? Bail reform has made my life much easier as a criminal defense attorney. Oh, you robbed somebody at gunpoint? Your Honor, I think they deserve a PR bond. The judge accused that, worried that the ACLU sitting in the court or monitoring the Zoom will say, oh my goodness, you did not give a PR bond. This woman or man is a person of color. The judge must be racist. So the judge will say, I will give you a PR bond, but I'm going to put some conditions on it. You have to check in, maybe wear a ankle monitor. Okay, great. And I get it. And I've made the argument a bazillion times, all right? Bail should be no greater than reasonably necessary to assure one's appearance in court, as well as to protect the community. And the court should be able to tailor reasonable conditions to assure both, short of incarceration. All right? Made that argument. It's kind of like all things in life. We appoint judges. Judges get appointed or elected depending on where you are in the states. And they're there supposedly to make independent determinations of people that are safety risks and those that are not. Just like when it comes to sentencing. One of the gripes I have with mandatory minimum sentencing is that you're taking away the discretion of the judge, which, and we all know there's some bad judges out there, but there's a way of getting rid of them, like not reelect them, right? Like politicians, but yet we keep sending them back. Same thing with judges. But the judges are supposed to have this independent autonomy to be able to make these decisions, and yet we tie their hands and say, you now must give people bail, right? We've seen it in New York, California. It's coming to a city near you. And like I said, there are some people, yes, that should not be incarcerated, right? Just because you're homeless and you're broke and they set bond at $10 and you can't make it and you have to wait, 90 days for your little municipal court trial. I get that. That is unfair. But it's $10 in that regard as well. And there's maybe a number there. Like, I don't want to tell you. But in these days, and I briefly mentioned it today when we talked about today's video. If there is no consequence, there is no law. Straightforward, right? You can put, here's the law. If you steal something from somebody, you could go to prison. You could get up to, say, 8 years in prison, for example. But if you said, well, you didn't really do anything and, you were broke, so we got some, hardship there, and, well, just don't worry about it. Just pay him back when you get around to it. Don't worry about it. There's no consequence there. Think about it. Do you let your puppy have no consequences when you're trying to train them to go outside? No, right? Do your children always get exactly what they want, no matter what they want, when they want it? No, because as a good parent that you should put certain boundaries on them. And if your, children run around like, a bunch of chickens with their head cut off all the time, they're probably not going to be good, citizens. Maybe they'll grow into it. Maybe they'll learn from other children around them. But if there's no consequences, you're going to get more of whatever you tolerate. You tolerate crime, you're going to get more crime. Bottom line. Okay? Now, as a general rule, the only way you can be held without bond is usually a capital case. And I've always said this, and when you talk to young DAs and you're trying to explain to them, like, why are we being so ridiculous? I understand you're a young district attorney. You think this is the worst misdemeanor assault case you've ever seen in your life. But maybe you should talk to one of your colleagues upstairs and put this in perspective, okay? As a general rule, there are, when it comes, there's rape, murder, violent crime, and everything else. The everything else should probably get a bond. The everything else can probably be resolved. But the rape, murder, violent crime, yeah, you gotta keep that. Because I, as a member of the community, and not necessarily in my cases, but watching people receive bonds for crimes, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're doing that. And as a member of the community, I am outraged. Like, judge, do your job, okay? So yes, I'm not, even though I've been a criminal defense attorney, I'm not one of those criminal defense attorneys think, oh, well, no one should ever be in jail. No, there's some very scary people out there, ladies and gentlemen. Some people deserve to go to prison, and some people deserve to go for a very lengthy time, right? Rape, murder, violent crime. Everything else can usually be resolved. Probably doesn't require going to prison for a lengthy period of time. So, Michael, I hope that answers your question. The bond should be no greater than reasonably necessary to assure one's appearances, right? That's written in most bail statutes across this country. It's very similar in the federal court system. And the court should be able to tailor a combination or conditions of combinations to put somebody on release, right? We're talking about somebody's liberty. It shouldn't be infringed upon unless you got some good cause, and then you got, like I said, you got a guy that's worth, $1 billion. A bond of, $1 million is no big deal. But you give a guy who's homeless a $10 bond, it might as well be $1 million. So yes, I see there is some unfairness to that. And I get that. But, maybe the guy's a repeat offender. I've seen judges, literally see, when they do the docket in like a municipal court, it's kind of like a night court kind of thing. And I've seen judges have conversations with, the drunk guy. Oh, I see you're back again. All right, well, public intoxication. I'm going to give you 2 days in jail, 1 day credit, so you got one more. Hopefully you get a good shower and, get some food in your stomach, right? Take a warm shower. It's like, okay, everybody knows they're going to see the guy again, right? He's coming back. So, but that's what I'm thinking. Judges should be able to do the right thing. It's just what it's what they should do. They know. Blonde PT, my uncle is a defense attorney. He concurs. People like to see the government fail every once in a while. They do. I mean, come on, let's face it. Everybody likes it. Particularly when, the defense guy up there, they have all the resources. The people of the state of blank or the United States government versus blank, and they didn't bother. Why? I guess it's just not important. They think anything can go, right? Failed to meet their burden, ladies and gentlemen. It happens every day in courthouses all across the country. Lynette, you could have more little baby Winnies. Yeah, no. And I'm not going to lie to you. The first night that the little Miss Winnie the Bulldog was there, my first thought was, oh my God, what have we done? Why? And now it's kind of cramping the traveling style when you can't, you can't put her in a, a kennel because she's not fixed yet, spayed. And you can't put her in like little doggy daycare school just yet because she hasn't had her little surgery. But that's coming up on, I think, July 15th at 7:20 in the morning is when I think it's going to happen. And that was my first thought. I was like, oh my God, what have we done? So now she's big dog, all grown up. She needs to, go off to big daycare where people can take care of her, and we can still go do and enjoy things. So yeah. Let's see. You don't have enough people in your life, and replacing that with a love of an animal. Let's see here. Donna Lane, I agree. There's going to be a heads up about caps in that. Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate a big shout out here to all our moderators. Appreciate all that they do. They're not looking to pick a fight. They're just trying to keep things orderly, and I don't think they're doing anything that's not really done kind of generally on YouTube channels. And hey, like I said, we can agree to disagree. You don't get blocked for saying, Scott, I disagree with you. You can just do it respectfully. I mean, I think I disagree with Mark Means, but we try to do it respectfully. Let's see here. Scott's pretty sure. Yuppie generation loves watches. Scott is a green Xer, pretty sure, like me. A green Xer. Yuppie generation loves watches. I do love watches. The other thing I love? Just saying. Pens. Watches and pens. Seriously. Like this one. We traded up because I have another little pen, and I'm not trying to see it, but I have another little black pen. It's looks like braided steel from this. But this here is a Porsche pen, right? The lovely Miss Kristen got this for me. And what's cool about this pen is watch. Like there's no button to click or anything like that, right? So you put a little pressure on it and it drops out. You want it to go back in and you kind of throw forward again. Boom, writes, boom, it goes back in. How sweet is that? Love pens. And I appreciate it. People have sent me some amazing gifts. Not that we're asking for anything, but people have sent stuff just out of kindness to say thank you. And I thank you. Like I said, not asking for it, appreciate it. If it's a really cool gift, maybe we've got a next up. We do like an unboxing of all the gifts. That'd be kind of cool. But usually they come randomly, and they usually arrive on my desk and like, did I order something that I don't remember? And then I open it up and it's like, it's a gift. I'm like, oh, I should have, if I had known, I could have opened it on video. A couple more questions here. Mark Mean says that he means whether or not makes sense or not. Maybe we should take out an insurance policy. I got working cameras. Laugh out loud must be light or murky. You can get some great cameras these days. When I had some items stolen from my house, we put in these cameras, man. It looks like daylight in the middle of the night. It's amazing, the quality of the cameras, how they've changed over the years. Yeah, some people use their cellmates, jailhouse lawyers as reputation court. Big mistake. Totally agree. I don't know how many times I have to tell somebody, don't talk to anybody in there and don't talk to jailhouse lawyers about the case. Jen, he even suggested to have smartphone dumb enough just for phone. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Sorry. Sometimes there's like conversations going back around that I don't really know. Okay, nonviolent criminal offenders, according to Kristen, have enormous bail amounts here in Middle Tennessee. It's outrageous. You will stay in jail until trial if you can't pay. And, I got a problem with that as well. I mean, like I said, no bail should be greater than reasonably necessary to do that. Colorado, we try to be here the cutting edge of anything. I think we're going to change it all back in a couple of years like we always do. I used to always joke when I was in the military. One of the reasons why I got out of the military was it became rather clear that every couple of years, somebody in the command would say, we need to do something differently. And they would change and they would rewrite the procedures and protocols, and they would do that for a little while. And the person that was responsible for changing it got his little, medal at the end of his tour, and that was great. And maybe it stayed that way for a little while. And then somebody came in and said, that really doesn't work as well. Let's just go back to the way we did it before. And I've said this once, and I will say it again. Everybody, every few years, acts like we've never seen any of these issues ever before in our life. Nothing has changed, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. Go back in history, go back 100, 200 years, go back thousands of years. People were still being prosecuted for the exact same crimes. The names of the crimes have changed, but it's the same crime. Literally thousands of years. There's reasons why they didn't let the male teachers be with the male students. Obviously that changes now these days, but it really doesn't change that much. It's all the same. The crimes, why people do things, jealousy, lust, whatever, it's all the same. But we act like it's a big deal. Like, we've never seen this before. I wonder why people are going to, why they're harming other people. Why are they all so mean? It's always the same. Let's see here. Hey, Scott, an off the topic question. What are your top 3 songs and band? Oh, that's a good question. Is this Constipated in Sin City? Am I reading that correctly? Wow. Let's see. Well, I think the one that pops to mind is first is the Avid Brothers, I and Love and You, which is a great song, great album. They're going to be here at Red Rocks next week, too. 3 nights, I might add. Next couple of songs. I got songs from all like different genre. I got country songs. I got Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks comes to mind as a great song. Then you got like NWA, Fuck the Police. That one always gets the crowd jumping, so to speak. Those are the things that come to mind. But I like songs from all different genre. And it really just depends. Scott, but if you don't have $10, are you better off with 3 squares? Hey, Scott, if you're not better, if you don't have $10, you're better off with 3 squares. Man, possibly, unless of course you don't want to be sober. That's true. let's see here. Man, these things are going by fast. Let's see here. Michael, okay, good. I answered your question. We had guys, okay, license suspended, not honest. I don't know who we're talking about there. Jeff Stewart, how can you be in the chat on the internet? Not sure. Sometimes people need to spend some time in jail to get a lesson through their thick skulls. I can't necessarily disagree. I've said this many a time, usually to a parent, saying, do you want to help your child out? Or your brother, whomever. If you want to help them, don't. Going back to the whole, you get more of whatever you tolerate. So, if you are enabling and helping them with their drug or alcohol issues, which usually results in somebody getting arrested, something along those lines, you're actually not helping at all, even though you think you are. Because everybody will promise to get out of jail. I promise I'll do this. I'll promise I'll never do it again. Scott, if you could pick a case in the news to represent, which case would you choose? Ooh, this is from Cat. There's some good cases out there. Wow. Obviously the first, I think is like the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell matter, but yeah. Then you got the lady down in Colorado Springs, Letitia Stauch, yeah. Morphew here. Maybe the guy in New Mexico that was playing with the guy's head like a soccer ball. No pressure. Right? No pressure. But I don't know. That's a good question. There's so many, good ones out there. Avenatti, he doesn't seem like a very personable guy to me. He'd probably be a terrible client as an attorney. But if you're then maybe he would be one. There's a couple good ones. Actually, who I'd want to represent? I think it'd be interesting. Is we don't really talk about this. We don't get into politics, but the accountant or the CFO that got indicted that worked in the Trump organization. Because you could have such a heyday with them because, okay, so let me get this straight. You think everyone should get basically a 1099 for a perk that your boss lets you have? Like, hey, we have a corporate apartment. If it's too far to drive home, you can stay there that particular night. Okay. You give somebody a bonus and you say, hey, here, you done hard work, here it is. And you don't 1099 them. You give them a car. Well, geez, you better line up every banker in New York City with all those little black cars and see if they got those 1099s going out to them. So from the standpoint of you could make a heyday out of it and make the prosecutors look very politically driven, regardless if you're just doing your job, no matter which party you support, I think that would be kind of a fun case because you could bring in tax experts all day long, say, no, you can't do this. All right. And if anybody's ever figured anything out about business, the one thing that drives business is taxes. And if anybody thinks that Apple keeps billions of dollars offshore because they like paying taxes, you are super naive. All right. All the people that love their Apple and, going to go hug a tree or whatever. And I love Apple. I got lots of Apple stuff. I own Apple stock. I say, keep it offshore, right? They got what? A couple $100 billion in cash to spend. Keep it offshore. Don't give it to the government for taxes. That's how business works. Why do you think Amazon, Apples of the world, Chase, all those banks, they pay zero in taxes because they're playing by the rules that were set up by them. Come on, people. And so when people play by the same rules and then you say, oh, you didn't do it, well, you better go after everybody that doesn't play by the same rules. Otherwise, you just look, well, politically motivated. So, yeah. Yes, Donna, Scott loves a good cigar. Yes, I do. And let me tell you, I had a cigar dinner that I went to Thursday night. Oh, my God. Even I was saying, can somebody open the window? Can we open a door in here? I was like, I can't smoke another cigar. Over the course of, I think, 5 or 6 hours, I think there were maybe consumed 5 cigars. And even I was like, I think I need a break for a couple of days. It was, wow. Scott, what was the most frustrating case you've ever tried? Too many to mention. Just because, I mean, each case has its own issue. You just never know. All right, Mal, can you believe how quickly we've gone by? All right, well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to continue the conversation, need to jump to our Patreon page. Let's see, there's one more question. Sam 5, if I pronounced that correctly, super chat there. Hi, Scott. In which state would you never like to practice law and why? California. The nonsense that California has created in all aspects of life, particularly what I have seen, and although on a limited basis, but even that limited basis makes me just think they have screwed it up as usual. So no, would never want to practice law as well. And in 1999, Dakota is me. Thank you very much. Appreciate that super chat. All right. So take a quick break. We'll head over to our Patreon page. If you haven't become a Patreon member, please do so. We'll continue the conversation and you can call in. And of course, we'll do the magic 8-ball question of the night. So please join us. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you taking the time to watch us. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.